Stephen A., the problem I have is you get upset about the very thing that you do. You get so upset and bent out of shape about the very thing that you do.
Draymond, where you gonna stop dancing around issues involving me and tell them what's up? You and I were pretty tight.
Involving me, I've never been one to dance around issues. Anytime I've had any issue, I confront my issues. I face my issues head on. Always have, always will.
Draymond Green just came straight at Stephen A. Smith, and there was no warning at all. No warm-up, no careful wording, and no soft landing. He sat behind his microphone, looked right into the camera, and said something that almost nobody in sports television has ever dared to say about one of the biggest voices in the business.
Stephen A., the problem I have is you get upset about the very thing that you do. You get so upset and bent out of shape about the very thing that you do.
It only took one sentence, but that line may have been one of the strongest takes anyone has ever put on the record about Stephen A. Smith. The bigger question is what Draymond was really trying to say with those words. His point wasn't even about basketball. He was saying Stephen A. spends every day criticizing other people, but the moment that same energy comes back his way, he struggles to handle it. That's not a debate about stats or highlights. That's a statement about how someone reacts under pressure, and that's why people paid attention.
Involving me, I've never been one to dance around issues. Anytime I've had any issue, I confront my issues. I face my issues head on. Always have, always will.
What makes it hit even harder is that Draymond isn't some random outsider taking cheap shots from a distance. He's been around this world for years, and he knows exactly how these conversations work. More importantly, he's never been known for backing away from what he believes. As Draymond likes to say, he doesn't dance around topics. So when someone with that reputation looks directly at Stephen A. and says he can't handle the same criticism he gives everyone else, it doesn't feel like a petty jab. It feels like someone giving his honest opinion without trying to soften the message. But here's where things get even more interesting. The first real crack in this whole situation wasn't actually between Draymond and Stephen A. at all. It started with someone even bigger. LeBron James. Before Draymond had an issue with Stephen A. personally, he already disagreed with how Stephen A. talked about LeBron. And the conversation wasn't focused on LeBron's basketball skills, it centered on comments about LeBron as a father.
Stephen A., you got upset when you said to LeBron James, you're failing as a father. When I said that was wrong. That's when you got upset, my man.
Now here's what actually happened, because the full story matters more than quick headlines. Stephen A. never said the exact words that many people later repeated online. What he did say on live television was that, speaking as someone concerned, he was asking LeBron as a father not to push his son into the NBA before he believed the timing was right. Still, to Draymond and to people close to LeBron, those comments came across as criticism of LeBron's parenting, not just a basketball opinion. That's the issue Draymond keeps pointing back to again and again. According to Draymond, there's a pattern. Stephen A. often delivers his strongest opinions without holding back. But when people respond by saying he may have crossed a line, Draymond believes Stephen A. doesn't accept that criticism very well. That's the point he keeps making. And if anyone thought that was the end of it, Draymond quickly brought up another example, Jaylen Brown.
The problem I had with Stephen A. and Jaylen Brown was when you called him out like a mob boss. When you sat in front of the camera and spoke as if you saw him, you was going to do something to him. That's the problem I had.
Then came one of his most memorable comparisons. Draymond described Stephen A. like a mob boss. He clearly chose those words for impact. His point wasn't about anything literal. He was describing someone who, in his opinion, speaks from behind a studio desk while acting as if he holds major influence over the players he talks about every day. For a long time, that formula worked. Players appeared on the shows, they answered interviews. They kept the relationship going because there was an unspoken understanding throughout the league. The media covered the players, and the players respected the process. Everyone knew where the line was. But in Draymond's view, that balance slowly changed. He believes the coverage stopped feeling like simple reporting and started sounding much more personal. To him, it became less about describing what happened and more about acting like part of the competition itself.
And those are all facts. Just like a lot of players having a relationship with you were facts. Until you started to disrespect players as if you were a player.
That's the line Draymond keeps returning to because, in his eyes, it's the biggest issue in this entire debate. There are reporters, and there are the athletes competing on the court. For years, everyone understood the difference. Reporters reported. Players played. Draymond believes that somewhere along the way, Stephen A. started speaking as though he were competing alongside the players instead of covering them. And once you speak with that kind of confidence, Draymond argues, you also have to be ready for the same kind of direct response. That's when he delivered what may have been his simplest point of all. Own it. Just 2 words, but they carried a huge message. According to Draymond, once something comes out of your mouth, it belongs to you.
If you're going to say stuff that you say other people said, then you must believe it. And if you believe it and you spew it out of your mouth, then guess what? Own it. Own it. It's that simple.
You can't hide behind what other people supposedly said or shift the responsibility once the reaction gets intense. If you say it publicly, you should stand behind it. After making that point, Draymond shifted the conversation in a different direction. Instead of simply criticizing Stephen A., he focused on the responsibility that comes with becoming one of the biggest voices in sports media. In Draymond's view, reaching that level means accepting every reaction that comes with it. That's where the entire discussion changes. Draymond stops throwing punches and starts making a broader point.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown, my brother. You wanted that. You say you want to be the big dog. You understand. You're starting to understand. Man, that crown is heavy.
His message is simple. You wanted this. You chose to become one of the loudest and most influential voices in the room. The person everyone listens to, reacts to, and debates every single day. With that spotlight comes accountability, whether the response is positive or negative. This, according to Draymond, is simply the price that comes with being the biggest voice in the room. Once you become the top name in sports media, every player you've ever criticized is eventually going to get their chance to answer back. The person who spent years showing everyone how to fire back at criticism is now standing in the middle of the same storm he helped create. To make sure his point couldn't be brushed aside as just another opinion, Draymond brought up one name that everyone knows: Kevin Durant.
You are the very person that drove the narrative that Kevin Durant can't be spoke to. He got a problem with media. He always got to say something back, a little sensitive. A lot of that came from you. But he's doing the very thing that you do.
Follow his argument carefully because it's easy to see why it caught people's attention. For years, Stephen A. helped shape the public conversation around Kevin Durant. One of the biggest storylines was that Durant was too sensitive and had a hard time letting criticism go. According to Draymond, that reputation didn't appear out of nowhere. He believes Stephen A. played a major role in pushing that narrative. Now look at what's happening in this conversation. Stephen A. is responding to criticism, defending himself, and refusing to let the issue fade away. That's why Draymond made the comparison. In his view, Stephen A. is reacting in a way that's similar to the image he spent years attaching to Kevin Durant. Then Draymond delivered another sharp line.
Pot calling the kettle black. It's what we see every day.
Every day. To him, this wasn't one isolated moment or a rare exception. He was describing what he believes is a pattern, a habit that keeps repeating itself whenever Stephen A. becomes part of the story, instead of simply covering it. Then came one of the night's most memorable comparisons. When the rabbit got the gun. It's an old saying, but Draymond used it to completely flip the picture. For years, Stephen A. has often been the one asking the tough questions and offering strong opinions about players. Many athletes simply had to accept the criticism and move forward. But now, according to Draymond, the roles have reversed. The people who were usually being discussed now have the chance to speak back, and suddenly the conversation feels very different.
But when the shoe is on the other foot and the little cap gun is turned back your way, you can't. Ain't so fun when the rabbit got the gun. We've heard that saying for years.
That's really the center of Draymond's argument. In his opinion, this isn't about anyone being unfairly targeted. It's about experiencing the same kind of public criticism that has long been directed at others. From his perspective, that's simply part of being one of the most influential voices in sports media.
You can't just stand on the top of the mountain and throw rocks. And then when a rock come flying back your way, you're like, oh man, like how they do that to me?
At the same time, Stephen A. deserves credit for one thing. He didn't avoid the conversation. He stayed in his seat, listened to the criticism, and responded directly instead of walking away. Before judging that response, though, it's worth remembering how Stephen A. reached this position.
I was a beat writer and an NBA columnist for 15 years.
He didn't become one of the biggest names in sports overnight. He spent roughly 15 years working as a beat writer and columnist, covering the NBA long before the television debates, the famous catchphrases, and the massive audience he has today. When Stephen A. finally answered Draymond, he didn't try to match the intensity. Instead, he changed the direction of the conversation by bringing up their personal history.
Draymond, when you gonna stop dancing around issues involving me and tell them what's up? You and I were pretty tight.
You and I were pretty tight. With that one sentence, he shifted the focus completely. Rather than speaking as two public figures arguing on camera, Stephen A. framed it as someone responding to criticism from a person he once considered a friend. He went even further by explaining that, in his view, the times he publicly criticized Draymond were never motivated by personal dislike or television ratings. He said they came from genuine concern.
What you didn't consider, bro, is why I called you. I called you because I was scared.
Scared. That single word stood out because it's not one people often associate with Stephen A. He pointed back to difficult moments in Draymond's career, high-profile incidents that sparked major debate and were hard for even Draymond's strongest supporters to defend. Stephen A.'s argument was that his comments came from worrying about where those moments might lead, not from trying to tear Draymond down.
And then after the choking incident with Rudy Gobert and the slap to Yusuf Nurkic, I upset you because I called you and said it was difficult to defend you.
Draymond's argument is simple. He believes Stephen A. struggles with the same kind of public criticism that he regularly directs at other people. Stephen A., on the other hand, insists that his toughest comments have always come from a place of genuine concern, not personal attacks. Even when the conversation turned towards some of the most difficult moments in Draymond's career, times that sparked major debate and were challenging to defend, Stephen A. didn't back away from his position for even a second. Instead, he answered with complete confidence.
Draymond, respectfully, you don't have a point.
Respectfully, you don't have a point. That may be the best way to describe Stephen A. Smith's style. You can challenge his argument, question his logic, or disagree with his conclusions, but he's rarely willing to give up any ground. Right or wrong, he stands by what he believes, and that's been part of his public image for years. Then came the moment that made it clear this discussion had become much more personal than a normal sports debate. Name the time and place. With those words, the tension reached another level. What started as a disagreement over opinions and media coverage suddenly sounded like two proud competitors refusing to back down.
We name the time and place, bro. Ain't no problem for me.
That's also the responsibility that comes with becoming one of the biggest names in sports media. The higher your profile grows, the more people are ready to challenge your opinions. Every athlete you've ever criticized has the opportunity to respond, and every strong take you make can eventually come back your way. That's simply part of living in the spotlight. Maybe that's the biggest takeaway from this entire exchange. This wasn't just about who made the stronger argument. It also highlighted the pressure that comes with having one of the loudest voices in sports. Every opinion carries weight, and every opinion invites a response. Stephen A. Smith built a career by giving bold takes, asking tough questions, and creating conversations that millions of fans want to watch. But when those same conversations turn toward him, the spotlight feels very different. That's the balance Draymond was pointing to throughout this entire debate. Whether you agree with Draymond's perspective or believe Stephen A. defended himself well, one thing is hard to deny. This exchange got the entire basketball world talking. And that's exactly why it became such a massive story. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Draymond made a fair point, or do you believe Stephen A. was completely justified in defending himself? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this is one debate with plenty of strong opinions on both sides. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with another basketball fan who needs to see it. Your support really helps the channel grow and lets us keep bringing you the biggest stories from around the NBA. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.